Okay, firstly, our head of the LLM program, Professor Matsuo, will have an opening speech.
Thank you, Izuka-san. Good evening and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to information session for the admission to Keio Law School LLM program. My name is Hiroshi Matsuo. I'm Vice Dean of Keio Law School and Director of the LLM program. Keio University was established in 1858 as the first private university in Japan. Law school started in 2004, and now it has two programs. One is our JD program for students who are preparing for taking Japanese bar examination. And another is LLM program for global legal professions for which you may apply. LLM program started in April 2017 as the first Japanese LLM program in which all the courses are taught in English. So far, 132 students from all over the world graduated and are working worldwide. Today, I'm pleased to know that two graduates will join this information session, Ms. Anna from Indonesia and Mr. Talit from Cambodia. Now, in this semester, nearly 50 LLM students study here, MITA, in Tokyo. They can also communicate with Japanese students who belong to JD program. So I believe our students can enjoy making communications and exchanging their ideas and thoughts with colleagues who are from different countries and from different cultures. I think this research environment is very important because the central purpose of our program is to foster the global legal professions who can find solutions to complicated issues which take place not only in domestic field, but also in international field from the broad and global perspective. So we hope that you can take this opportunity to deepen your understanding of our program and apply for the coming admission. Thank you very much again for your participation and enjoy this information session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Matsuo. Next, Professor Mara Sheridan, who is a member of the LLM admission committee, will explain about admission for LLM program. Please go ahead.
Thank you. And thank you to everybody for joining us this evening or this morning if you're located somewhere in the West. So as you may know, our program has two matriculation periods each year, April and September. We also have two application periods. So the application period dates vary a little bit from year to year, but typically they are in May and in October/November. Some documents are due a little bit earlier, and we'll discuss that in just a moment. We try to maintain equal standards during both matriculation periods as much as possible. So we try not to have one matriculation period or one application period be easier than the other. When you apply, you can choose your matriculation period. So if you wanted to, you could apply in May for matriculation the following April, or you could apply in May for matriculation the coming September. Okay. The key materials for the application. There are two personal statements. One is a statement of your purposes for applying and how the program fits into your overall career path. Another one is an analysis of a legal issue or problem. We also need your academic transcripts and certificate of graduation from your postgraduate education, your post-secondary education. So meaning your college or university and any kind of graduate school you've attended. We have a resume. There's a form that's provided for you to fill out. Letters, one letter or two letters of recommendation from professors or your employers. We do like to have one from a professor if possible, who you've worked with. We request proof of English proficiency. This requirement applies to every applicant who is not a native English speaker. If you are a native English speaker, you are exempt from this requirement. If you have received a substantial portion of your education in English, or you have substantial work experience in English, you can apply for an exemption from the proof of English proficiency. And the application period for that is actually this month if you're applying in this application period. So it's in April. So you have to be aware of that. And it'll be earlier if you apply in the October-November application period, then the proof of English proficiency exemption application will be, I believe it's in September of this year. So just bear in mind that it's earlier than the regular application. There is no hard cutoff for an English score. So we encourage you to take the TOEFL or the IELTS, but we do accept other tests if that's all you have. And again, we get asked often if there's a minimum score. There is not. We just evaluate it as part of the overall package of your application. Okay, most of the documents can be submitted online. You can upload the PDF of your documents. We do require that some documents, in particular academic transcripts and certificates of graduation, be mailed afterwards, but it won't delay your application process. So you can submit a PDF scan and then mail the original later without delaying your application. Okay, there are some other documents that are required. And if you check the application guidebook, which has all the detailed information and is available on the Keio LL.M website, that will list out all the documents you need. There's also, in the guidebook, there is a detailed application schedule as well. And I think there's a schedule on the website too. So the schedules are the same. So you can check the schedule for applications on the website or in the guidebook. Okay. As a requirement for application to the program, you must have an undergraduate degree. Your undergraduate degree must be in law, or you must have a Juris Doctor, a JD degree, or you must have equivalent knowledge to an undergraduate degree in law. We do not have a specific hard requirements as to what that means, but just as an example, somebody who's been working for many years in the legal department of a company, where in Japan that does not require a legal qualification. If you've been working for many years in the legal department of a company, that case is typically somebody who has an equivalent knowledge of law or more as to an undergraduate degree. So if you don't meet the degree requirements, then we strongly encourage you to submit an application for eligibility certification. The deadline for that is also prior to the regular application period, but you can have the admissions committee make an assessment on a case-by-case basis as to whether you do fulfill the requirements for application to the program. Rather than submitting your whole application, getting it all ready and paying the fee, where it's possible the admissions committee could review your application at that time and determine that you're not eligible to apply if you don't meet the degree requirements. So to avoid that situation, we recommend that you submit an application for eligibility certification in advance, and then you can get a solid answer as to whether you're eligible to apply or not. Okay, and just as another reminder, if you don't have an English proficiency test and you don't plan to take one, or you can't take one, and you're not a native English speaker, then you must apply for an exemption from the English proficiency test requirement. So we encourage you strongly to do that if you'd like to apply to the program. And it is possible, in some cases, we may request interviews with students who have applied if for some reason we believe that's important. In terms of geographies from which we've had applicants and students, we've taken students from pretty much all over the world. At this point, we've had students enrolled from North America, South America, many countries in Europe, Africa, and then all throughout Asia, including Northeast Asia, Southeast Asia, and South Asia. So we have a very diverse student body, a diverse set of applicants. We think that's a great strength of the program. And we really encourage anybody who's interested to apply, regardless of where you're applying from. Yeah, and we'll have time for questions about the application process later in this session. So yeah, we look forward to your questions.
Thank you very much, Professor Mono Sheridan. Next, Professor Lid who is the head of LLM Academic Affairs Committee, will explain about the curriculum for the LLM program. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Delighted to see everyone here, and hope many of you will apply to the program. The curriculum you can find online. I guess I can give you a maybe a link to it, or maybe Murakami-san, do you want to put a link to the just in the LLM introduction where there's a list of the courses? Maybe you could put that in the chat so people can see it. We have a very broad-ranging curriculum. The LLM is called an LLM in global legal practice, and we cover a lot of different areas to try to make the program meet a pretty diverse set of interests. Okay, you can all go look at the course list if you can see it. The first area is Japanese law and Asian law in global perspective. Many people who are coming to study in Japan want to study Japanese law, of course, and some also want to study law and development in Asia. So this is our first category. Then we have a category, global business and law, which has a wide range of courses that hopefully are of interest to practitioners in private practice, whether transactional, in-house, or dispute resolution in nature. Then we have a category called global security and law, which focuses more on public international law and intellectual property. Excuse me, actually the next category is, this is all more public law focused, including, you can see we have space law. One of our professors, Aoki Sensei, is one of the leading experts in Japan on the law of outer space. A number of international human rights and security related classes as well. The fourth area is called innovations in intellectual property law, and that is focused on intellectual property, a wide range of classes. Then we have area studies. These classes, well, the first one, the area studies China, actually kind of fits with the law and development in Asia. And it's been taught the last 3 or 4 years by Professor Zhang, who's at the University of Washington School of Law and has visited Keio either online during the pandemic and in person before and now after the pandemic to teach this as an intensive course. And we have several Japanese scholars of European law who teach the EU-Japan course. Comparative law picks up both our American law topics that I think Reed and I have taught most of over recent years, and then a number of comparative law courses. I'm teaching comparative constitutional law this semester, for example, and I think I have maybe 11 or 12 students who were at the first class, and I wrote down the jurisdictions that are covered. We have the US and Japan. These are places where people have studied the law or where they're knowledgeable about the law. And for Europe, we have covered Germany, France, Sweden, and Italy. And for Asia, outside of Japan, we have China, Korea, Bangladesh, and Laos. So with a class of something like 12 people, we have 10 jurisdictions covered, which is really wonderful for a comparative law class, where we will draw upon each other's knowledge of our home jurisdictions and use that as part of our comparison that we do. We have sort of a catch-all category called current legal issues, where we can put in new classes when we want to. We've got a couple business related classes in there, and we've got a sports law and dispute resolution class in there. And we have legal research and writing. This includes our writing seminar that we like everyone to take if they are not supremely confident already in their ability to write graduate level legal, do legal research and writing at a graduate level before they would do a research paper. You can do either a 2-credit or a 4-credit research paper if you'd like. And as you can see, most of our full-time professors in the program are available to supervise research papers on the topics that they have some relevant knowledge about. And many of our students, I'd say something like 1/3 to 40% of our students have been doing research papers as part of the LLM in recent years. And finally, we have a practical training category. The LLM it's not a pure academic program. It's a program for largely future practitioners, current or future practitioners. And so I think many of our students find that the most valuable classes they take are the ones where they get to actually engage in the practice of law, practice the practice of law by doing mock mediation sessions or negotiation sessions or drafting agreements and learning about really very practical issues. We do have a number of courses that are taught by adjunct faculty who are, the preeminent practitioners in their areas. And I think for those of you who have studied law as an academic subject in a university setting, at least for some of you, hopefully you'll find that this is a breath of fresh air to be working with people who've actually practiced, who can give you, practical tips about how to handle particular situations and to improve the skills that you're going to need to actually work with clients. Again, whether in a law firm, a corporate legal department, in a public body, but as a practitioner. We have, if you scroll back up to the top of this page and look at LLM certificates, again, as I mentioned, we have a general LLM in global legal practice. Under the way the Japanese Ministry of Education works, it's not practical for us to have a number of specialized LLM programs the way some universities do around the globe. So we have a general LLM in global legal practice, but to recognize that many people who come here want to specialize and want to focus their study, and to give some way to acknowledge that that people have done that, and so that they can show that to future employers, people who are assessing what they've done during their year at Keio. We've come up with a certificate system where we offer 5 different types of certificates for graduates of the LLM program who focus their study in a particular area. You can see online the 5 certificates and the requirements. The first one is business law. Second is international dispute resolution. The third is Japanese law. Fourth is law and development in Asia. And the 5th is intellectual property. And we have enough curriculum in each of those areas so that students who plan can easily achieve the 10 required credits in the area. Every one of the certificates requires that you get 10 out of your 30 credits in that area. It also requires, and we have a list of courses. The certificates don't quite match with the categories that we had when we first set up the curriculum for the program. So we have a list showing exactly which courses give credit towards which certificate. Usually it's obvious from the title of the certificate and the course, but not in all cases. So, and if you want a certificate in an area, then you do need to do a research paper in that area. And two of the certificates, the one in business law and the one in international dispute resolution, do require that you engage in a practical training class that's somewhat, focused on that area. So that's, I think, again, around 35–40% of our students in recent years have taken advantage of the certificates. The main, I mean, many people will get 10 credits in their area of interest anyway. And so it's not, to get the certificate, what they need to do is check a box on their last semester that they're applying for it, and make sure to do a research paper in that area. And so it's not a lot of additional work for many people. Let's see. Maybe I should ask, since we do have additional time, we're only at 6:52. I'd like to answer any questions people have about the curriculum or the certificates, or maybe about admissions, before we turn this over to the alumni. Is that okay with the Gaksebu? Yes. Okay. Any questions? Nope. Okay. Well, then I'll turn it back over to the Gaksebu. Oh, a little bit more about the research.
There's a question
Okay.
about the research paper.
Yeah.
Yes.
The research papers are, it's not strictly a thesis or a dissertation or something like that. It's an independent, but it is an independent research paper. I think, some they tend to be too long. I think our recommendation is something like 25 to 40 pages, double spaced. So that and you need to identify a topic and then get someone to agree to supervise your paper, who has hopefully at least, I try to identify the person who's the best substantive fit for you, and make sure that that person or somebody else is willing to supervise your topic and agree to it. Then you basically meet with that supervisor at various points during the semester, and it's basically an independent project. So it usually we have from the research papers we get every semester, we will evaluate them not only for, it's essentially a pass fail, it's exercise. I don't think we've had people fail the research papers as if they've done one. Very often, not that I can remember that anyone I supervised didn't manage to produce a research paper. Some people had intended to do a 2-credit paper, decided that they wanted more time, and so they extended it and did it over 2 semesters. That I have had happen. And then there's sort of a slightly higher standard for someone who's going to get 4 credits for the paper and spend the whole year on the project. But but that's the way it works. We have something called the Macklin Prize, which is named after Gerald P. Macklin, who was a professor here from 2004 until 2016. And so this is a memorial prize in his honor that we give to the best written work for a student in the graduating class, if we believe there's work that that merits it. So I think most semesters we will award one of the graduating students a Macklin Prize for the best research paper. Typically, we also do review papers for potential publication in Keio's in-house, its own academic law journal, and we have had a number over the years published in the Keio Law Journal, where we have students do exceptional work of publishable quality. We've also had some who have had, I mentioned earlier that we have a leading expert in space law on our faculty. I remember we had a Japanese national who was a US admitted lawyer and came to get the LM in the process of moving back to Tokyo. And he wrote a research paper on space law that he ended up going and presenting at a conference in Germany, and it was published in an international journal. That is, that's, I think the research papers have been a good way for the students who are, want to demonstrate that they're really getting a rigorous program, research papers. I recommend people do them because it's something that especially if you get it published, and it could be that it's not in an academic journal, but it ends up that you take it and cut it down and it gets published as a memo that your law firm puts out, or for practitioners or something like that even. But that it's something that you carry with you, right? That you can refer back to when you want to teach adjunct somewhere 10 years from now, 15 years from now, and they look at your CV and they'll say, oh, you wrote these papers that are on there. So it's useful. I see we have another question, which is it possible to earn several certificates? No. This is since we only require 30 credits for graduation, and we really want people to demonstrate focus by getting the certificate. You could probably get 10 credits in business law and 10 credits in intellectual property or dispute resolution, but we don't allow it. We only allow one certificate. It's possible to write 2 research papers. You could decide that you wanted to write one in one area and then one in another area, but we'll only award a single certificate, and you have to apply for a single one.